I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. Is it Marijuana Friday?
I gotta go find the time machine. We already had Middle Eastern chocolate this morning. Let's go find the time machine, Jeff. It's gotta be back in the break room with the rest of the stuff.
Is that where it all went wrong?
Maybe.
Marvin, the meat handler, wondering, it's Marijuana Friday because our callers are somewhere else.
They're fun.
Yeah, right. Someone else pointed out that the Rocky Mountain News wasn't even around in 2011.
Yeah, that was
nice.
Yeah. That was great. That's a conspiracy. So, again, there's our time traveler. I think it was our last caller was a time traveler.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Because why not? Well, who knows where this show's going today. Greg in Denver, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. I was just wondering about the Denver legislature. How come they only meet for 3 months? And I'm scared because if they were to meet longer, maybe we would be in worse position. But I wanted to know your...
Yeah, that's part of it, less damage.
It was established, the 120-day timeline was established in 1988, according to a constitutional amendment. It was created after decades of debate over session length, and it sought to ensure that the legislature completes its work within a finite period. The Colorado Constitution wants the legislature to be a part-time legislature. They want members having other full-time jobs and not dedicating their entire beings to this, which you would see the problems on it. But yeah, Texas meets every other year. Thank God Colorado at least limits it to 120 days. But yeah, I think if you gave the socialists the power down there, they'd get together every day to figure out how to ruin your life.
Yeah, and the other thing for me, Greg, is that think about how the legislature, and we've used this description on the show before, that our legislators many times behave like those high school students that just found out the science show is on Friday. And they save everything until the last couple of weeks, and then it's this mad dash to crush everything through because they didn't do the hard work earlier in the session. And so the idea that if we gave them more time, that they would have the ability to do more work, no way. We see nothing that shows any of that to be true. In fact, there is an argument you could make that the legislative session should only be like a month because that's the only time y'all are really worried about getting those bills passed anyway is the final 3 weeks.
Well, all right. Well, instead of giving them more time, maybe we should give them some sage.
Yeah, nice one. Way to end it, Greg.
Thank you,
Good
Greg.
job.
Denver, his line will be open. Brad from Parker, if your audience consists of guys saving copies of Rocky Mountain News, then you need to rethink how to better target sponsors. All right, Brad, that was a funny one. I like it. All right, now it's time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, good
Hey,
morning.
the power's
Hey,
on.
let's go.
Way to time
I
travel.
cannot believe you're not going to talk to Brian. Brian, you've got a friend in me, buddy. You are the greatest caller this week by far.
Which one was
Absolutely.
Brian?
Brian may have outdone Barney on that last call. Brian, I mean, he hit it. Love it. Hey, the electricity may go out here. I'm just telling you because I could predict the future. It's 24 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 40 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story: in Adams County, deputy and one other person were shot this morning at the Caraway apartment complex at 74th and Broadway. The circumstances surrounding the shooting are not clear. The complex in unincorporated Adams County is across the street from Mapleton Public Schools Global Campus. The shooting caused a large police presence and forced the closure of Broadway for a time. The conditions of the deputy and the other person are not known right now.
You know, we're looking at a top 3% wind speed that we're going to see here in northern Colorado.
Excel cutting power right now in some parts of Larimer and Weld counties To reduce the risk of wildfires, they shut off electricity to 9,000 customers due to high winds that could topple electric lines. Some schools in the affected area have canceled classes today. The National Weather Service has declared a red flag warning for the northern I-25 corridor today, predicting gusts of over 70 miles per hour in some areas. All right, the Broncos getting ready for their big playoff game tomorrow. They have reportedly acquired another parcel of land, since we're talking about the Broncos, for the near the proposed stadium site in Burnham Yard. The Denver Post reports that nearly 3 acres of property at 480 Osage was purchased by the team Monday for $13 million. The site was previously used by a steel fabrication company. Burnham Yard is once again the spot for the new stadium with the retractable roof. They hope will be finished in time for the 2031 season. Now the Broncos kick off the playoff run tomorrow at 2:30 at Mile High. The Bills in town. One thing that Coach Sean Payton knows, and he told his team, you have to embrace this moment. You never know if you get another chance to do this. He talked about the year away from football before he got the Broncos job. He said, you need purpose.
That year out, man, very, very little mattered. Getting ready for the Sunday, where they're going to throw you a few easy questions and you're going to have a narrative about the game and then you stay and then go home. But all the while, immediately you realize that racetrack is going. I've said this, you smell the gasoline, the lights are on, and you're like, man, there's nothing like that. And there's going to be a time where, and I said this to the players, there's going to be a time where all of us have to get off, but you know what? Not today. Not today. And so there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
All right. Also, tomorrow, the Niners at the Seahawks. Tomorrow night, the Patriots play host to the Texans. On Sunday, the other AFC game. The Rams at freezing Chicago in the Windy City to take on the Bears. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado is set to give remarks later today. It comes after she gifted her 2025 Nobel Peace Prize to DJT Thursday. The two met at the White House, and afterwards Machado told reporters she presented the medal to 47 in appreciation for deposing Venezuela's former dictator, Maduro. Trump later took to social media to thank her, calling the move, quote, a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. It's 23 in Westminster, 23 in Aurora, and 24 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Bill on a Friday, getting ready for the weekend. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's going to be mostly sunny to partly sunny and mild, getting a little bit breezy, though, by afternoon. Highs upper 50s and low 60s. Windy and colder tonight. A cold front comes in tonight. Gusty northwest winds, lows mid-20s. It'll be colder tomorrow. Upper 30s and low 40s with cold and gusty north and northwest winds. Colder Friday night, teens and low 20s. Partly cloudy and cool Saturday. Will stay in the mid to upper 30s. Down to the 20s Saturday night, warming back to the 50s for Sunday. Cooler Monday. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go back to the phone lines. Dave in Erie. Good morning, Dave. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning.
So basically, it's Iggy. So I like to observe media a lot. So I used to be on X a lot just to see how people react and what kind of propaganda is going out there. I don't understand. Almost immediately after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there was a big campaign to discredit everything he's ever done. Okay. And it seems to be continuing. I mean, they're digging in and twisting things to their own narrative. I don't know much about him because I just didn't follow him. I mean, there's a big generational thing. He was big with the 30 to or maybe the 25 to 45 group of people, and I'm in my 70s. So, like I said, what's behind that? I don't understand. It seems to be a lot of people have, just need to discredit him. And I have to say, I've recently quit X because the AI has gotten so bad on it, all the propaganda from like China and Russia and everything. It's just too much.
Now, Iggy, I have an opinion as far as why some, not all, but why some of it came out. And my opinion is part of it is a power vacuum. Correct. That once Charlie's gone, there's a power vacuum, one, for control of TPUSA, but also a bit of a power vacuum for the space that his organization occupied. And so there were a lot of people that had some self-interest, in my opinion, in tearing down TPUSA because they wanted access to that audience, they wanted access to that time, that space, those donors, or they wanted to be able to assume the control of TPUSA. They wanted to rise in the ranks, and they wanted to, swoop in either from outside or internally. So I think that's a lot of it. It sounds very, very strange, Iggy, but if you've ever read Game of Thrones, it's exactly what was going on.
Well, I agree with that's a great point as far as the power vacuum. But I can't help but think that his I'm just beginning to understand the influence he had in his group of followers for the last election and the power he had that I didn't quite realize. I mean, he very well could have been an upcoming president. I think there's more. I think there's a thing on there that they want to destroy that power. Somebody does that discredit, because he did have such an influence among younger people. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're definitely right about that. I think that's why he died. So you have a few different things going on right now. I've been assaulted by the left. If you're quiet and you don't really make an impact, they generally leave you alone. But once you start to interfere, particularly with institutions that they have captured, like our education system, they will respond in violence. It's how the left operates. And so he was killed because of the impact he's making. And then when you talk about the falling apart of some of the conservative coalition around him, like what you saw at America Fest, I've heard from a number of people that just didn't like the infighting that's taking place there. Naturally, within the conservative movement, there's infighting. You see it with the Republican Party. I can tell you about internally with the pro-life movement in Colorado, there's infighting. There's people that want to jump immediately to a full abortion ban, just get it on the ballot. And if you don't think that that's the right tactic, you are not pro-life enough. Believe me, I've heard that. So Charlie was unique, and I say this as a coalitions guy. I worked for presidential campaigns developing coalitions, trying to keep people together, trying to keep them focused, trying to take on the real problems, which is the radical left, is a challenge within the conservative movement. The Republican Party's fractured. There's 20 plus people running for governor. I mean, it's just naturally the way it is. Charlie was able to keep that together, keep people focused. And now that he's gone, the infighting is kind of for everyone to see. But Iggy, go ahead. I'll give you the last word.
Well, basically, I like what you just said because people do tend to go after institutions, especially politically, if you're trying to fight them politically, right? So that helps me understand a little bit about what's going on. But I still sit and watch it, and I'm fascinated by what's become of it. So I'll let you guys go. Have a great one.
Iggy, great weekend.
Have a good weekend, man.
Thanks for the call. Really appreciate it. All right. Speaking of battles,
yes.
Here's Tim Walz yesterday with a statement regarding Donald Trump.
My fellow Minnesotans, what's happening in Minnesota right now defies belief. News reports simply don't do justice to the level of chaos and disruption and trauma the federal government is raining down upon our communities. 2,000 to 3,000 armed agents of the federal government have been deployed to Minnesota. Armed, masked, undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools, they're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process. Let's be very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government.
I saw that, Bill, and decided, whoa, I'm going to go check this out. So I jumped on and I went through his statements to see if this is happening, indiscriminately arresting people, breaking windows at schools, dragging pregnant women, kidnapping. Couldn't find it. I could find some obscure references to some pregnant lady throwing ice blocks at ICE, like literally picking up snowballs, ice snowballs, and throwing them and trying to disrupt ICE operations. She gets drug away. But what Tim Walz lays out there is a lie. He needs to resign. This guy is a disaster for Minnesota. Not only do you have the years of fraud that's taken place, he is escalating what are lawful ICE operations to, door-to-door, masked, untrained, point out the brown person in your neighborhood operations. This is terrible. He is a disaster of a governor. He needs to resign. Your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think that the language that he used went over the line based on what is observable and real, but I feel that's where we are in politics. The descriptions I am hearing coming out of the Trump administration of what's going on are not tethered to reality either in many cases. We can even go back to the first descriptions coming out of the administration after the shooting of Renee Good in Minnesota. Those weren't even close to accurate, not based on the video that we had. So I feel both sides, to us, the American public's detriment, are playing really, really fast and loose with the truth in a way that I don't think has been omnipresent as much in the past. We've always had politicians lie to us. We've always had politicians stretch the truth. That is something we expect. But this gets to a level of gaslighting on both sides that is really, really, from my mind, remarkable, because while what Tim Walz is saying is wrong on the descriptors, there are some really, really serious interactions with ICE that have gone badly, that as Americans, I think we should take a moment to sit down and look at how we're dealing with this. And again, even in protest, there's a kid in Southern California who just lost his left eye because ICE fired non-lethal rounds into the crowd. The issue is how close the guy was. He was feet away from the crowd and aimed directly at people's heads with the non-lethal rounds. What do you think was going to happen? He caught the kid in the face. He took out his eye, and there's shrapnel buried inside of him. They were afraid of removing some of the shrapnel because they were afraid it would get to one of his arteries and kill him. That's
non-lethal?
Yeah, it's a non-lethal round. But again, the issue is this. You don't shoot at someone's face. That's why. You don't shoot him at the face. The non-lethal rounds should be center mass. That's where they should be going, but he didn't. He aimed head. And you're like, what are you doing? And there's another story that came out. Again, these are anecdotal stories, and it's nothing that proves what Tim Walz is saying is right. But it does show that there are some interactions out there that go way beyond what should be done in those situations. There's a story that came out of Minneapolis where a family in a minivan with 3 kids they were trying to get through and around a protest. ICE is telling them to leave, and the family is like, we're not part of the protest. We are trying to leave. We're trying to get out of here. And during that process, ICE rolled tear gas, or a flashbang and tear gas underneath their car. It went off with such a concussive blast, it set off the car's airbags. The family pulled their kids out, and they had to provide CPR to their 6-month-old who had stopped breathing because of the impact. That's significant and serious. And those are the stories that Tim Walz should be highlighting. But again, those are the stories and things that we heard earlier this week with Renee Good, the idea, but it wouldn't happen if you weren't there. If you weren't there, and some of these things are, this family wasn't trying to be there at the protest. The one that I just talked about.
Because I've watched other videos of the woman that was dragged out of the car, for instance, saying, I didn't mean to be here. I was going to a doctor's appointment. She's not even from Minneapolis. She's not even supposed to be. She lives in a totally different state. They went and looked up her background, and she's a professional agitator. Meanwhile, she's going, I'm just trying to get to a doctor's appointment. I'm just driving through. I'm not trying to get to a doctor's. They're lying. They're lying. Tim Walz is lying. And so I'm sorry to what happened to this family in the minivan if it was intentional, but there's so many people involved in this that are just outright lying.
The kid that was shot in the face isn't lying. It's on video. And after and this is the thing that's scary.
How long was he there? Was he told to disperse? Any of that stuff?
Hang on a sec. Even if he was, you don't use non-lethal rounds and shoot people in the face from a few feet away.
But I don't understand how you have how it's non-lethal with shrapnel. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It has to do with the round, etc. But again, you don't shoot at someone's face. And if you see the video afterwards, while he is on the ground and bleeding, you can see the blood coming out of his left eye. He is grabbed by the back of his hoodie by authorities, and he's drugged. They drag him by the back of his hoodie, and that's going to put pressure on the neck. And the kid's sitting there going, wow, while he's bleeding from the face. Those are the actions that we've seen on video. And
Bill, do you know anything about this guy? Do you know why he was there? Do you know if he was asked to disperse? Do you know if he did anything prior to this?
Or
are we just running out there with these videos? Some guy got shot in an eye. I'm just saying I've seen this over and over again with Minnesota where they're like, woman drugged out of a car by ICE agents. I went and actually watched the video. She was there for minutes while they tried to tell her to leave. She wouldn't leave. Then she gets drug out and goes, I was just going to my doctor's appointment. She doesn't even live in the community. She's a professional agitator. They just lie. And we get these anecdotal stories. This guy got shot in the eye. I don't know anything about this, the details behind it, but people are using it to make ICE look bad.
I've seen none of the reporting calling him an agitator. I've seen nothing that showed that he was doing anything that was aggressive or out of bounds in there. And again, and even with the woman that you're talking about that was drugged out of the car, she could have a doctor's appointment in that area. That just because she doesn't live in the area doesn't mean she necessarily has a doctor's appointment. But again, I haven't seen any proof that she does or does not. So I am not convinced one way or the other.
I've seen proof she doesn't live there. And I watched the video where she spent minutes interfering with ICE operations.
Interfering in what way? What do you interfering?
Move. They're sitting there, they're going, you need to move. There's like 3 ICE agents going, drive, drive, get out of here, get out of here.
And again, based on the perspective, was there, again, from what I saw in the video, there wasn't necessarily a clear path in front of her in order to progress forward.
100%
I didn't look at, But again, she could have been going to a doctor's appointment there. She could have not. We don't know. And people do travel outside of their locality to visit doctors. I don't know. I'm skeptical of the fact that she was visiting a doctor, but I've seen other instances of this. And that's the thing is, back and forth, you're seeing violence on both sides, and neither side is it acceptable. I mean, at least the mayor yesterday in Minnesota came out and said that those doing the peaceful protests, you're doing the right thing. Those that are enacting violence are doing the wrong thing and taking the bait of the administration in order to escalate this, in order to ramp this up a little bit.
And but you see them talking out both sides of your mouth? I mean, what he describes there is basically Gestapo, like door to door. Go point out the brown people. They're not doing that. And then out of the other side of his mouth, he goes, and by the way, just remain peaceful. Just film them. Yeah, the Nazis are in your streets, but just be peaceful.
Well, I was talking about the mayor inside of Minneapolis that was there, and he had a little bit of a different take based on Walz. Now, I do think that Walz was using language that was mischaracterizations of what was going on, but we do have instances of them stopping people and detaining them based on color of skin and or accent. So while he's saying going door to door asking where the brown people are is hyperbolic and oversteps the line, there are indications that based on color of skin and accent, they stop people. There's a guy that was he's an Uber driver from, I think it was from Somalia, but he's an American citizen. He posted a video of his conversations with ICE where they stopped him and they were accusing him of not being here in the country. And he's like, you have zero. He hadn't done anything wrong. It was just we looked at you and we don't think you belong here. That can't be how we go through law enforcement.
Join the conversation. Would love to hear from you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115. Is Tim Walz in the right? Is he the one trying to protect American values from an overreaching, authoritarian, fascist president named Donald Trump? Or is Donald Trump right to consider implementing the Insurrection Act? What Tim Walz is doing is hyperbolic. He's stirring up leftist agitators against lawful ICE agents, just doing what we all agreed as Americans is the law. They're just, Barack Obama did this, got illegal immigrants out. But now Donald Trump wants to do it. No! Now they're Nazis and we have to go try to stop them. Where do you fall along these lines? Want to hear from you. 303-696-1971. If you listen to me for any amount of time, you know I care deeply about freedom, responsibility, and supporting local businesses that have stood the test of time. That's why I want to tell you about the Gun Room. The Gun Room has been Denver's oldest firearms dealer since 1982. And when you walk in, you feel it. Real wood, real craftsmanship. A shop that actually looks like a gun store. Less plastic, more tradition. They've got beautiful displays of guns there. They buy, sell, and consign any and all firearms from antique and vintage to hunting and tactical. And they do something the big box stores never will. They work closely with families who've lost a loved one and need help handling a gun collection with care and respect. Inventory changes daily with over 1,000 firearms in stock. So if you're thinking about buying, especially with new restrictive laws coming, and they've already introduced new ones, you should act right now. Support local, support family-owned, and support freedom. Visit denvergunroom.com or call 303-237-1300, 303-237-1300, denvergunroom.com. That's the Gun Room, a Colorado original. All right, we'll continue. Phone line's hot on this one. We're talking the Minnesota protests. Is it time to implement the Insurrection Act, get control of a state that's out of control, or is Trump the aggressor here? We want to hear from you. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Tim Walz seeking to address the President of the United States.
My fellow Minnesotans, what's happening in Minnesota right now defies belief. News reports simply don't do justice to the level of chaos and disruption and trauma the federal government is raining down upon our communities. 2,000 to 3,000 armed agents of the federal government have been deployed to Minnesota. Armed, masked, undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live.
The chaos created in Minnesota is the result of Trump. It's the federal agents. It's not the lefties. It's not the protesters. It's not even the illegal immigrants. It is Trump's fault. NBC trying to figure out what to do with all of it.
Tonight, growing tensions outside a federal facility in Minnesota.
This is a scene that we've seen all day long. The line of police officers and right across the street, protesters, a scene that's repeatedly turned into clashes.
And overnight, chaos erupted. Anti-ICE protesters throwing objects at officers, who then used flashbangs and tear gas to disperse crowds. Law enforcement cars also destroyed.
The crowd is engaging in unlawful acts. They have thrown fireworks at police officers.
All as DHS revealed more details about that new shooting involving the ICE officer. DHS saying he fired in self-defense while he was being beaten, saying the officer was trying to arrest Julio Cesar Sosa Solis, who came to the U.S. illegally 3 years ago when the suspect began to resist and violently assault the officer. DHS says 2 other men from Venezuela, both here illegally, then ran up and began to hit the officer with a shovel and broomstick. So the officer fired, hitting Sosa Solis in the leg.
Our agent is beat up, and we're thankful that he made it out alive.
President Trump now threatening to use the Insurrection Act if Democratic leaders don't, quote, obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE. The Minneapolis mayor overnight.
For those that have peacefully protested, I applaud you. For those that are taking the bait, you are not helping, and you are not helping the undocumented immigrants in our city.
While in California, an anti-ICE protester appears to be hit in the face by a projectile while moving toward an officer. As Minnesota's governor blasts ICE enforcement operations.
Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government.
But the White House defending ICE, saying they've arrested suspects with convictions including rape, assault, and murder.
These are all illegal alien criminals. This is all ICE is trying to do. They are trying to remove people like this from Governor Walz's state.
Shaq Brewster is outside that federal facility once again tonight. And Shaq, we now know how many federal officers are there in the Twin Cities?
That's right, Tom. A federal law enforcement official telling NBC News there are roughly 3,000 federal immigration officers in the Minneapolis area. That's roughly 5 times the size of the city's police department, and clearly not stopping the protests like the one you see behind me.
Wow, 5 times the police presence there? It's getting hot in Minnesota. Who do you blame for all of it? In my mind, it's clearly Tim Walz, the mayor, leftist agitators, Donald Trump just doing lawful immigration deportations. Barack Obama did it. But when Trump does it, now we're going to seize this moment to fight politically. This is all about politics and stupidity, and it's coming from the left. What do you think? Join the conversation. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's go to the phone lines. Joe in Arvada. Good morning, Joe. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Hi. Morning.
Hi, Jeff, Billy. I wonder how much of the $150 million was slated to go to Tampon Tim's campaigns. How much money did he get? How, out of all those millions that went through the airport, I wonder how much Tim Walz get, or Jason Crow. Hey, buddy, I can't even believe that we had somebody in the military like you. Just ridiculous. It just makes me cringe. Hey, I got a quote for you from Dan Aykroyd. Jason, you ignorant slut. You're a slut of the Democrat Party. That's what you are. You're taking largesse from these folks. Tren de la Agua. Yeah, you, Jason.
I don't know. Okay. That's an interesting take.
I mean,
Well,
Joe,
this makes me so angry that this is being mischaracterized. All of these quote agitators. Oh yeah, Billy, let's protest. Let's get in our car, drive down to the federal building surrounded by armed ICE agents, and drive our car into a violent protest. Yes, and then when told to leave, we'll just keep going. Let's hurt that guy. He got hurt. What are you going to say about that? He has internal injuries.
I don't know what are you referencing? Who drove their car down to a federal?
Renee Good.
Renee Good was in a neighborhood, not at a federal facility.
She was told to leave.
And was she allowed to?
She tried to run the guy over. He has internal injuries.
That is a claim that is made after the fact based on internal injuries. We haven't seen anything about it. And technically, a bruise can be an internal injury. So the idea, hang on, but again, Joe, you talked about intentionally aiming the car at him. That's not what the video shows. But again, you started out with it being someone driving down to a federal facility with armed agents all over the place. That's not even close to where Renee Good was. And everybody's seen the video that's listening to the Jeff and Bill show. Where's the riot that you described? Where's the riot?
Last week,
you
told us how this was such an innocent person and coming into the be a protester. Nonsense. We have the videos, bub.
Yeah.
It ain't. She was no innocent.
What,
she was a paid protester.
Do you have proof of that, Joe? Do you have proof of that? Who paid her?
It's coming,
where have you found that? No,
and
where?
When it is,
hang on, Joe.
I want your personal apology
you said
on
that she
the
was.
air.
You said that she was a paid protester.
Listen, when it happens, can you at least acknowledge when it happens? Don't be like Jason Crow. You stick your head under a rock when the truth is found.
Okay. Here's the idea, Joe. You have what sort of information are you going on to say that she was a paid protester, or is this just something you feel and you believe?
Well, she was here from. I believe they were stationed in Canada, and then all of a sudden they show up in Minnesota.
They live in the neighborhood. They live in the neighborhood. They live in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they live. Yeah, that's like me packing up and heading to New York.
They live in the neighborhood.
And I lived there for a couple of months.
Have their neighbors
and taking largesse from George Soros.
But again, do you have any proof of this? Are you just going on like Candace Owens and
I'm just telling you, when the proof comes out, are you going to apologize?
This sounds like Candace Owens, Joe. This is silly. You're starting with nothing.
I just have a question for you again. You told us last week how Renee Good was just down there protesting, that poor protester. Well, it turns out she wasn't, was it? We have the video.
No, she was.
We?
What? No, she was. She stood there and she said, "I'm not mad at you, dude." She didn't.
Hey, they even admitted.
Here's the thing.
Her lesbian lover runs over and says, "I'm so sorry. I asked you to come down here and be an idiot."
Yeah, what about that? I don't understand that, because that is the process of grief that happens with almost any sort of situation. And those are people that, let's say, individuals go to something like a concert. This happened in England.
Yeah, let's go down and check.
Joe, hang on a sec. Joe, I'm going to complete this thought. That exact same behavior happened at the concert when fans of Ariana Grande were attacked in England. Same thing happened. The members of that family, the kids that were injured and died, they were sitting going, "Why did I let her go? Why did I let my kids go? Why did I tell them it was okay?" That is a process in grief. It's not proof positive, as you seem to assume, that George Soros grabbed them from Canada and moved them into Minnesota so they could park sideways in a neighborhood to stop cars partially from progressing down the street. If that is George
I'm ready for your apology when they deliver the goods.
That is George Soros's master plan. That sucks. If that is the idea of the guy that is pulling all the strings, if that's what you've come to, that he's pulling all the strings this way, that is silly and stupid, and I don't understand why y'all are afraid of him.
Why don't you look at who is sponsoring this? You don't even pay any attention to it.
That's, again, you're making assumptions that you have no backing for.
Yeah, but when we find out, you do nothing. You just go turtle.
Nobody's found out anything. Where's George Soros?
See, that's just the point.
Tens of millions of dollars going into no team.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
You don't bother to check anything, Clouseau.
Hey,
Joe. You guys do not check anything. As soon as it's found out that the money came from Democrat sources, boop, You're quite.
What money? What money? What money came from what Democrat sources? Joe, what the hell are you talking about?
So
what money is coming from what Democrat sources?
No Kings had tens of millions of dollars funneled from some of George Soros's Open Society Fund nonprofits to those organizations. Leftists are continually funded to show up and protest, and people have done investigations to find that some of these protesters have attended hundreds of protests, and they're all paid. Not all of them, but some of them are paid.
See, there's the thing: is the all paid. It's just like Joe assumed that she's paid. Do we know any of that? And where's the information on the payment of the checks? George Soros can fund it, but that would be setup, structure, permits, things like that. The idea is what I haven't seen. What I haven't seen are the checks and the things going to it. There are a group of paid protesters around there, but this is not them.
The right. See, Billy, not many government officials have the right to just say, hey, Billy, you drove your car into an ICE agent. Can we just examine your bank account? No, that's not how it works. It takes time and investigation and court orders, and you got a bunch of liberal judges that won't access the information. I'd like to see Jason Crow's donations records. Did they come from Somalia? Huh?
Well, and what drives some of this frustration that Joe's talking about is you have lawmakers like Lorena Garcia, who's the CEO of a nonprofit that gets direct funding from taxpayers, and she is a lawmaker. She has the power to vote to take money from taxpayers and put it in her own bank account.
Yeah, there are examples of that happening on both sides. There are examples of that, absolutely, people taking money from it. The board that helped RFK Jr. design his new food pyramid, more than 60% of them have interests in the beef and dairy industry. And we were told to eat more beef and dairy. So, I mean, this happens a lot, this type of double dealing. Happens a lot. It doesn't mean, however...
But hold on, you went from it's not happening to it happens a lot.
No. What I said it isn't happening is the paid protesters. I don't disagree with the example you gave of the lawmaker. That's different than George Soros paying an individual like Renee Good to be on the street. That's the leap in logic, is that because this lawmaker double dips, Renee Good is obviously a paid protester. There's no dots in between those that are connecting. That's it. I admit that the lawmakers do double deal. Absolutely. 110%.
Okay.
But doesn't mean we have paid protesters out there that is all the paid protesters.
When they prove that this money came from organizations like George Soros's and Somalia,
what money?
I want
what money are you
apology.
talking about, Joe? First, so we can clarify this. What money are you talking about?
The money these people were paid. See, that's where you miss it.
No,
they
Joe,
were paid.
this is the thing is you're starting with the conclusion and working backwards. You're like, these people are paid, and now I'm working backwards.
It's already out.
No, it's not.
The information is out.
It's not.
Well, this is exactly what you told us last week. Renee Good was just such a poor, innocent protester.
Joe, we have no indication. Joe, we have
tried to run over an ICE agent.
No, she didn't try to run over an ICE agent.
That was just so sad.
No, she didn't try to run over an ICE agent, and you have no information.
Yes, she did.
And you have no information showing that she is a paid protester, as you claim.
Oh,
you have no information.
Poor lesbians.
You have. I know.
Come on.
I know. Here's the thing, Joe. Hang on. Remember, I want everybody that like Jeff and Bill show to hear this. When I just said you have no information about her being paid, you turned around and said, poor lesbians.
Yes, there is.
You said poor lesbians.
Let me just tell you, there are
avoided
a bunch of reporters.
Joe, you
listen,
avoided
I don't have the reporter's name right on the top of my head.
You avoided because it doesn't exist.
They have interviewed people that said that they were that they were paid.
See, this is the part where you're not listening, Joe. I did earlier in the conversation say there are some people out there that are paid protesters, but it is not all of them, and it doesn't mean Renee Good was. And thank you for the phone call, and I appreciate that. And that's the issue. I've been hearing for years all these people are paid protesters, and not a single person has been able to show proof. Until I'm shown proof, I'm not going to believe it. Is there a segment of people out there that are paid protesters and agitators? Yes, absolutely. But is it the large swath of people we're saying? And when I hear all of these people showing up for paid protesters, and because one person's a paid protester, it means Renee Good is? No, that's farcical. That's illogical. That's it. I'm waiting for the list, guys. Show me the list. Waiting for it. Been waiting for it for years. I've been hearing this paid protester thing. There's a pocket of people that are out there that do it. Yeah, sure. Yes.
Do you think they're stirring up stuff in Minnesota?
Who's they, and what do you mean by stirring up
Those
stuff?
people that you just said, the paid people.
No, I think there might be some people there doing it, but not a lot. No, I don't think so necessarily. No.
Oh, I think they are absolutely stirring things up and trying to make this hotter, and I think it's intentional, and I think it's political. All right, let's talk Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. Just put it in your phone right now. Dan Caplis Law. Here we go. Again, 303-770-5551. Or hit dancaplis.law.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. All right, phone lines hot. Text messages hot. If you want to join the conversation here, here's the phone number, 303-696-1971. If you would like to text us, it is 720-819-5115. You are listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Billy, you got him going this morning.
Yeah, shout out to the lost jockey that wants to know what the average pay is for the protester. We got a school for it, and I just said, no. Just need a GED, but the good news is no drug test. It's real easy.
I know.
Yeah.
Mary from Wyoming, the instigators are not paid like employees with checks, Bill. They're paid with cash. There's videos. It was a protester saying how he got paid. In this case, it was the leader dropping off a load of bricks for a protest and envelopes with cash in it. He was living off of protest and monies.
I have not denied that there are some out there. What I push back on is the idea that it's all. It just begs credibility to think that the organization is that well heeled and that effective. If they were, why don't Democrats take advantage of some of that ground game, et cetera, and win more elections and things with it? I mean, if you've got that much...
I think it's all connected.
But the idea is, for the paid protesters, if you're that... Again, what I'm saying is if you're that good that you can amass that many people at a moment's notice to show up at these locations, then what about door knocking? What about getting people to turn out on day? What about that? I mean, the idea is... If
Minnesota,
the group
they
is,
do. Look at who's elected
again,
there.
I understand the elections, but the issue
buffoons.
is the manpower. If they can turn out such a large force of manpower for this, where the hell else is it any other
Bill,
time?
Here's what we're learning about Minnesota.
Where the hell is it?
One is what's right in front of us. The tax dollars that were used fraudulently, not only being duct taped to people's bodies and sent across on airplanes to other countries. You're seeing TSA whistleblowers talk about the millions of dollars leaving Minnesota right now. But it was funneled back into these candidates' campaigns. There's evidence that that's coming out, being washed through these NGOs. You have political leaders here in Colorado that are heads of NGOs that are receiving taxpayer dollars. It's all connected. It's all fraudulent. Tim Walz, from my opinion, inciting riots in an effort to try to cover up some of this stuff, to distract from it. Donald Trump is right. He should consider bringing about the Insurrection Act and getting control of this community. And here's the unique thing about these Democrats. They've finally run into a guy that's not going to put up with it anymore. I think most Republicans would have backed down and gone, oh, gosh. It seems to be getting a little tense there. Donald Trump doubling down, sending thousands more ICE agents. He's right.
I understand where your explanation was, but never in that explanation was it, and then they pay the protesters. That's the thing that I keep pointing out.
Now there's evidence.
Where is
of
it?
that.
Where is it?
We'll continue the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver.